Say, goddamn. You said, all right. I said, let's do a podcast. Let's sit down. Let's get a coffee. Let's just talk about 1, 2, 3, 4. Coffee with the Sam. Got a little podcast. Grab yourself a little coffee and a podcast.
What's up, guys? It's episode 69. Now, I know that number would have been perfect for a wobbly coffee episode. But then them numbers don't go into a coffee with Sam. So what's up, guys? It's the new year. It's 2024. A lot's changed. This is the first episode of 2024. And what better way than my guest I've got in today. He is a legend. I think at some point you're going to have to be inducted into the Hall of Fame of Coffee with Sam. 100% the Coffee with Sam Hall of Fame. This is now your third episode, as in singular,
third
as
singular,
in you on your own.
Yeah.
You were part of the 12-hour charity podathon or whatever. I didn't even call it that, but that's come to my head. You were part of the live show, the first ever live show. And you are also, we use your live show as the 60th special. So now we're 9 down the line and you're back again.
Back again.
Guys,
mate.
welcome to the show. Mr. Josh Hubbard, more known as J Hubbard Fitness.
J Hubbard Fitness, yeah, most recently.
Happy New Year, brother.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you too, man.
How you been?
Great, mate. Yeah, really good. Just settling back into the new year after a busy Christmas period. We closed down our coaching doors around about the 18th of December and didn't open back up until about 2 weeks ago, so the 8th of January, which was a nice cool down period for us as the coaches and obviously for our clients as well, with us not pecking their heads constantly, keeping on top of them. So it was nice for everyone to just sort of sit back and relax.
Well, guys, if you haven't watched the other 2-3 episodes, Josh has been in every studio as well. You were like the fourth guest on the podcast when it was in my living room. Well, not even in my living room. You came to the original first studio. You came to this studio when it was just a garage, and I was like, okay, we just moved into the house. Let's do a 12-hour podcast. And now you see in the studio slowly flourish. Now, for people who haven't watched that episode, or the other episodes, then you worked in the military. You have a military background, but this whole thing was flourished by you giving me a call and saying, I'm going to leave the military and I want to start a business. Could you give me some advice? And I was like, I'm probably not the best person, but I'll give you as much advice as possible. And then this happened and it's kind of flourished to, like I say, you being, going to be the Hall of Famer. Probably the first person, to be honest. One of the first people to be into that, because you're going to have like 20 episodes of your own. So since then, a lot's happened. You've done mega marathons. You've weeding bushes, pooed yourself whilst running, nearly died overnight. Some mega fitness thing. If you want to go back to the other episodes and look at the Josh Hubbard episodes if you want to know about that. But since then, you have retired from the military. Do you call it retiring or just moved on?
I mean, some people would say that I've retired because I literally just work from home now, but just moved on. New career path, new change. That sort of reached its limit there after the sort of 12 years serving there, and it was no longer anything that had any plans for my life moving forward. So it was nice to sort of park that and then move on into this.
So now what have you done? What have you done? What is next? Because you haven't actually been here since that transition of leaving to then.
Yeah, so and like you were saying then, probably 3 years ago now, maybe COVID time or just after sort of lockdown and all that had finished, I was driving back to work, and I think at the time I was working up in Catterick, training the recruits in basic training, and I had this massive brainwave. Obviously, you was in the fitness industry for a long time.
You wouldn't think that now.
And I was like, he will literally know and be able to guide me on what to do next. And I hadn't spoke to you for a very long time, probably like 10 years. Can't even remember how I managed to get your number, but rang you randomly on the motorway and was like, look, man, I've got an idea. I want to set my own business up, being a personal trainer. What do I need to do?
Do you know, you got my number. This might put me in trouble with other people that might want to get hold of me, but it's because my number hasn't changed since high school.
Right?
Me and Josh went to school together, so we must have had numbers at some point.
I can't remember. Because I was like, I don't even know how I've got his number, but I'm going to ring him. It was great to catch up. And then obviously with you being that sort of catalyst in explaining what it is I needed to do and the next steps, just sort of carve that path for me to then 3 years later be fully left the military, gone self-employed recently. Last week, just registered as a limited company. So it's all very, very official now. No longer self-employed. It's actually a flourishing business, which is pretty scary.
Because you've taken on staff, right?
Yeah, we've hired our first coach at the end of last year, which is pretty cool to sort of move forward with coaches with our clients as of the 1st of February, which will be pretty cool once she's all trained up, etc. So yeah, it's going in the way that I wanted, but none of this would have been possible. One, if I didn't obviously first ask you, and there's loads of other things around this that have obviously led to this, but
the industry has changed massively from when I started, when PT was just a thing. It never really was like, oh, you can make a career at it. I was classed as successful because I had a nice car and I could work my own hours, and everyone was like, wow, you've completed it. I hadn't. Like, I didn't have a house, didn't have kids like yourself, but the industry itself has moved on so much. I'm glad I'm out of it, to be honest. I don't think I would have survived. No, I would have done. Yeah,
you would have done.
Yeah, I would have done.
You would have done.
I would have done. I was just bored with adults that couldn't look after themselves.
It's tough. It really is, and like that's one of them things that, as a coach, that's like your bread and butter, isn't it? But and it's funny. I was having a conversation with someone recently of someone's course who I'm about to start in February, and it's all, as a coach, you want to constantly develop, don't you? You want to be looking for the next best thing on how you can then handle these clients that, like you were just saying, they're adults that can't adult themselves. And in the coaching industry, this can be classed as like somebody that's uncoachable. You can't get through to them no matter what you do. And I think that's where I've fell short quite a lot with a few clients where I'm just like, look, they're not coachable, but it's not that they aren't. It's just my coaching ability wasn't up to that standard to ask the right questions, and that's something that I've recognised in myself, that's something that we can fall short on with individuals. We get 90% of our clients, we get amazing results, but there's always going to be that 10% that you just can't get through to, and that's a me problem with my ability and asking them right questions.
That's personal development, though.
Exactly, yeah, and I've identified that, and that's what me and my coaches going forward will all go through, to be able to have that model and then plug and play systems to be able to sort of implement with these clients that we find a little bit more challenging. So that'll be exciting again to sort of go through this and then implement that over the coming months, and see how the uncoachable become coachable.
So what was that like, taking that leap from, because I know we were still chatting, like I said, this it's kind of weird, like just from what you wanted to do, we then still kept in touch, and I'm a person, I give praise to a lot of people, and I'll keep an eye on people's journeys, and I'll always say, Josh, that's incredible. Even though I don't care if you care or anyone cares, I'm always like, that's a great move. Well done. Congratulations. Especially with social media now, you can do that. I can see what you're up to. Mm-hmm. And I know one thing that you were really nervous about was that security of a full-time job. Even though I thought, I don't know how you do it, leaving your kids in your are you married?
Not married, no.
Soon though, Laura, yeah?
Yeah, soon. We've been engaged for about 6 years, I think. 6 or 7 years. It's been a long time.
Right, he'll have 10 staff soon, so then he'll have all the dollar to be able to get that wedding going. Anyway, stitched him up there, sorry. She won't watch this. Yeah, I know you were very nervous, but me knowing you, I knew you were ready, and there's just the friendship. We were friends before, the friendship we created in that year, 2-3 years, I knew you were going to be successful. But what was that like, taking that leap of going, all right, I'm leaving this security of a paycheck every month, something you knew, you'd worked your way up, to then, this is now all on me if it succeeds.
Yeah. It's still something now that, because it's still fairly new, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I've only been left the army since, it's been about 8 months, May last year.
And you've got staff already. That's incredible.
It's all still very new and very scary. And then obviously with registering as a limited company and all the challenges and the worries that come with that as well, just adds to the mix. And I still don't quite think I'm there with that. What's the word where it's like you're fully sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? You're content with it. I'm still not in the position of being completely content, and I suppose that's maybe a positive because it keeps me driving forward. I don't become complacent.
I was just about to say, I don't think you ever will.
No, and I think that's
when you stop working hard. That's when your level of, and you probably do it anyway. You have these moments where I'll have moments where you go, get off your arse.
Yeah.
And you've not slowed down. You've
Yeah.
slowed down 10% to what you normally are, and to someone else, that's their 100%. But I don't think you will ever be content.
No, and like I was saying, I think that's probably a
good
positive there. Do you know what I mean? But it is very challenging because, like you're saying, it is all on you. There's a lot that can go wrong. Got a house, got kids, got family, got a life that we want to live. But if I wasn't to do this and continue on this path and keep making myself uncomfortable on a daily basis by doing this, then I'd be limited to that paycheck from the military for the next 10, 15 years. And there would be a ceiling on what it is, that the freedom that I could create for my family and the opportunities, and I'd have very minimal impact on the world. Whereas now, with like social media, you've got a huge impact on the people you can influence. Like I've got clients that are all over the world, like Dubai, Florida, all over the United States, Portugal. So if I was in the army and I was still doing this,
you can punch it all you want. You can't hear it on the recording.
No. So, like I said, if I was still in the army, I'm just stuck in that little bubble there. I'm not really venturing outside the UK. Whereas now I've got that global platform to be able to impact and benefit as many people as possible and create the freedom and life for my family that I have only ever dreamed of, which is pretty cool, to be fair.
It's insane. And do you find now you get more time with your kids, that you are feeling better as a person, so that continues that you're not going to ever go be content? You're going to keep driving because of what this life's now given you. Because your old job, you loved your job, you loved being in the military, but there were sacrifices by losing the time with your children, with your partner, your soon-to-be wife, losing that time. Do you think that now this has made you a happier person?
I would say definitely happier, because I've not got the stresses of work, and obviously the stresses that brings with someone else telling you where you're going, what you're doing, if you can have your phone on certain places that you go to, and when you can speak to your family, and the million WhatsApp groups that you're a part of. At any minute you can just get a message saying you need to go back to work and whatnot. But at the same time, this brings its own stresses of being at home, working from home with the kids. Yes, you're around the kids all the time, which is great, but it's just another challenging environment that you need to make sure that you've got your boundaries in place, that you can have work and family life, and you try not to merge the two so it doesn't become that stressful environment where you just resent being at home around your children. So that quantity time then needs to become quality time, so you can really sort of differentiate between the two. But in terms of me being happier, 100% happier, it just brings its own challenges with it that you need to then be aware of, and then, like I say, put them boundaries in place.
But it's nice though, because you're now in control. So if that becomes too much, you can go and hire an office.
Yeah,
you can drive 10 minutes down the road and just have an office, and then you go out to work every day. Because I've seen one of your videos about that you can get stuck in this working from home, and you push your clients to like travel to work still. And I love that. Yeah, do a commute, because you get up 5 minutes before you're about to start work. You don't even shower. I'm like that because I work from home a lot. And you're like, I stink today. I've not left the house. This is not good for me. So I love that whole pushing that commute to work. So you're in control now, where you can do that, and you go, you know what? It's a bit too much with the kids. I'm suffering, but I'm still only going to work 10 minutes away from home and have an office. And then you also get that commute, you leave. Do you find it's hard working from home? Not with the kids, as in being self-motivated at home sometimes?
Yeah, I think it is, because you've got so many distractions around. And obviously this was a very sort of novel concept, wasn't it? When COVID came about, no one had ever really worked from home before. So now it's very, very common. So when you are working from home, you've got a million different distractions. You're in the kitchen, you've got the fridge behind you that's just humming away, calling you to go and eat all over the period of the day. You can walk into one room, see that it's messy, you're supposed to be doing some work, you start tidying it up, you get distracted, you watch TV. So yeah, it is challenging, and there's no, like I say, differentiation between what's sort of your home comforts and like office life. So it can be quite challenging in that.
Does Laura struggle?
Laura's always either worked from home, from a home office, so she's already been in that environment for a long time, so she's quite easily adaptable to that, whereas I'm more stressful. Things need to be sort of that clean cut.
Military.
That clean cut, yeah. It needs to be, this is work, this is not everything needs to be tidy. If it's that environment that you're in, like, environment will dictate your performance. So if I'm working in an office that's just got washing stacked up to the side of me that no one can see because the camera's pointed at me, and I'm just looking at chaos around me with like rubbish on the floor, the bins overflowing like a general house is when you've got 2 kids, that will just drive me mad. So I need to make sure the environment I'm in is nice, tidy, and there's no distractions around.
Go on, there's having a chat off camera with me about how messy the studio is, and I need to get it
Looking around
clean.
in chaos.
You've walked in and gone, I can't talk in here. I can't have a conversation.
It's controlled chaos
in this
from
shithole.
what I can see.
Yeah, I only asked that question is because Alex really struggles with it, because if she's at home, off work, or like now she's off for a year, Sam, can you just put that wash on? No, I can't, I'm working. Sam, can you put the washing out? No, I can't, I'm working. Or she'll come home from a full day at work, and because I haven't left the house, why have you not done that? Why have you not done that? Because I've worked 9 to 5 and I only get an hour lunch. I can't just dip off and do the washing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just put the washing out. Like, there are some perks to that if you needed a pair of trousers for tomorrow, you could do that. But she used to come back and expect, well, why have you not cleaned the whole house because you've been at home all day? I have, but I've been at work all day. That's the only reason I asked that question, I wonder if Laura struggled with it. But if she works from home, and she understands that work is work and home is home.
Yeah.
Just the kids don't.
But that's a great thing that you was on about there. Like context switching. So like, for example, and Laura did the same to me. I'll be, whether that's replying to a client about a complex issue that I need to sort of really focus on, and deliver that value across to them to be able to solve or lead to them solving the problem that they've got. And I'll be deep into it. I'll be in a flow, and then she'll come in, or the kids will come in, ask me to do something. Instantly, whatever I was thinking is just gone, and then I can't get back into that flow state. So like you were saying there, it's really important that if you are focusing on one thing, that context needs to be solely on that one thing. You can't be dipping in and out of things because you're not going to get into that flow and give that value for that one thing. And that is one thing that really comes into play when you are working from home. You will always be interrupted. Somehow you can lock yourself in the toilet, you can do whatever, and there'll be someone banging on the door, the kid's trying to get in, daddy, 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 and you're just like, yeah. So it's got its own challenges, man.
So moving on to that, with the kids, and I'll say, if it's not a topic you want to go into, I think it's very value for money if people are going to listen to this. Something that I think is amazing, and I said off camera that I tell everyone about it since you've told me, is that you enrolled your kids into forest school. What's forest school? What is it?
Yeah, so forest school is literally just exactly that. It's a school inside a forest. So it's completely outdoors. So they're outside all day, 365 days a year, obviously without sort of term time, etc. Just wandering around the woods like absolute lunatics, digging holes. They've got little fire pits that obviously is led by the teachers, where they learn how to sort of take a fire knee and like learn how to safely light fires, chop wood up, go foraging for berries, and just be outside more as kids, as opposed to being stuck inside that environment where you're in a traditional nursery where germs are rife. They don't really get exposed to the sun or to the elements, so their immune systems get a little bit sort of left behind. So it's developed our kids massively, leaps and bounds beyond kids that have been in a traditional nursery setting. And that's one thing as a parent, me being from the military, is something that's quite important to us, is being outdoors and our kids not being afraid to jump in a puddle or roll around in some mud, and do you know what I mean? Just enjoy being a kid and embracing it. So it's been mega for us, and I would encourage anybody to at least explore any outdoor sort of forestry school that's in your area. And I think most traditional schools now, when they're in like the early years of like reception, year 1, year 2 up to year 3, I think they all have to have, maybe by law or maybe not, they've got some connection to a forest school nearby. So even if they're not in it full time, they'll travel there at least once a week for that sort of outdoor element in nature anyway.
What's the main thing you've seen? Because they were in, what do you call it? Government-led school. What's it called? Just normal school. They were in school, weren't they? They were in.
So they've never been in.
Never been. Oh, I thought your eldest had been to school.
No, so they've never been into school. So they've always been in the forest school, and then we sort of deferred and then chose homeschooling after that.
What's the main thing that you see different to your children to other children that go to a normal state school? It's very American, but
no, I think it is. Yeah, it's classed as a state school. I think it is. The biggest thing that I probably would notice is, I'd say their social skills would be a little bit above, and I'd say they've got more, when you look at them, they've got more will to express themselves. Whereas I think when you see children that are in a traditional school, because they have to sit there silently at their desks, they're a little bit more conformed, so they're like,
they don't talk to each other, they don't associate with people.
I'd say they've got more social discipline because they sit down there, and as a child I think that's maybe a negative, because a child wants to sort of express themselves and want to be a bit more outgoing. So the difference I'd say is my children will be a little bit more outgoing and a little bit up there, maybe borderline mad than
that's one thing I've said about my child. I want my child to touch dirt. I want it to fall off the patio.
Yeah.
I want it to learn. I don't want it to. I would say, "Oh, Josh is coming around today. Here, hold my kid," and my kid's like, "Ah!" I want it to go, "Yes, sound."
Yeah.
Obviously, you teach all the things. Don't go off with randomers and this and that. But I don't want my kid to be that kid that, puts shackles on our life because they can't associate. They can't go with other people. They can't. I don't know. You got to leave it with your parents, and all they do is scream. And I don't want that. I want, I have my kid. I have my kid here. And like you say, it's exposed to the things that makes a kid. You learn by touching things and go, oh, well, I shouldn't do that again. I learned from falling over. Well, I shouldn't fall over again. And I think the way the world's going to go, mate, if they can light fires and they can look after themselves, because the world's going to go backwards. So they're going to need that. They're going to need that when they got to look after themselves again, when the world shits itself. But so how does the education side of this come in? Because surely they have to still, by law.
Yeah, so obviously in the early years, it's all up to like sort of age 5, where they can just be sort of child led. They can just cut about, not really stress too much about the traditional sort of maths and English. They'll do phonics and stuff like that, and they'll learn common sense essentially. They'll learn things, the environment they're in. Safety is a big thing that they'll learn. And then it's obviously down to you as a parent to then, behind the scenes, teach them words, alphabet, numbers, additions, and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
so do you have a couple of days a week where you have to do that at home? Like you have to supplement the forest school with homeschool? Not
in the early years for that. That's obviously just down to you as a parent. Yeah. When they get to a certain age, say like sort of 5.5 to 6 years old, when they would traditionally start like year 1, if you was to defer them, they'd probably start reception. Then you would then start incorporating a little bit more structure into it. But what we've identified with our youngest is, with our eldest, is there's certain times of the day where she's more active and she wants to learn, and she'll come up and say, "Oh, can I do numbers? Can I do some letters?" Okay. Whereas opposed to the traditional way is you will sit here from 9 o'clock until 3 o'clock every single day for the rest of your life until you're 18, and we will like ram it down your throat, because obviously attention span comes and goes, doesn't it? You can only take so much in. And as a young person who wants to just express themselves and cut about and do things that kids do, I think it's important to identify those times where they're most active, they want to learn, they'll absorb it all in, and then the rest of the time they can just be a kid. So it's very child-led that we sort of, the approach that we take.
That's amazing, because I'm stuck in this middle, because all these people in the new age, the woke people who are like, get rid of school, they shouldn't be telling our kids what to do and blah, blah, blah. I think it has a place, but it needs to adapt and change because the world's changed. And I had one of my nephews was, I don't want to go to school. I hate it. And I just tried to say to him, forget the things you think you're learning. This is what you're taking from school. You're taking discipline. You're taking having to plan things, having to get up, having to look presentable. And they're things that you're going to need in later life. Whatever job you're going to do, if you're going to be a gamer or anything like that, you still have to present your gaming studio. You still have to be able to talk to people. You still have to be presentable to them. You still have to have skills, and it made him look at school a little bit different. And like I say, I was someone who didn't do very well at school, but without school I'd probably be in prison or dead, because I had to go to school. It learnt me to have money. I had to buy stuff. I had to, but I do believe that what you get taught at school, I think business should be like maths and English. I think you should have to be taught business.
I'm pretty sure that only came in when we were
at
just
school.
About to leave school.
And only the really, we were at school, but only the really clever kids got to do business, because it was like, well, they're the ones that are going to go on to do business. Yeah. But I think even if it's not business, we should be taught about taxes, paying rent, mortgages,
practical life applications. That's going to benefit you. Do you know what I mean?
A bit like the forest school, they're learning all the basics of stuff. They're learning touch and feel and sight and danger and safety, like you said. the same sort of things, because mortgages and rent and pay and taxes are gonna have to be, if you can. Well, you can't live off grid in the UK because they've got control of everything. Yeah. So you are gonna have to pay that at some point. And it's like now we're learning as we go, and it's like you got £280,000 outstanding, and you're learning. I should already know what I'm doing before I'm borrowing 280 grand. Yeah. So like I'm really hard when I get into that conversation of the people who don't think about a topic and they go, get rid of the police.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Sam. Well, who do you call when someone's grabbing hold of you in the street?
Yeah.
You don't call your family, you call the police.
Yeah.
What are you doing when someone's breaking into your house? You call the police. So don't get rid of the police because you'll need them. It's the same with school. I do believe we need it, and not everyone can work from home. Like, I'd probably be a bit lucky like you, where I've built this life where I can work from home, that I could send my kids to something like the forest school or homeschool if needed. But not everyone can do that. And like I said, I do believe it. I just think it needs to adapt and change, man.
Yeah.
It's so left in the dark ages.
I'd 100% agree with that as well. Like you were saying, like, I never done very well at school either. And
we had a great time though, didn't we?
I love school. I wasn't against school at all.
I'd love to go back for a week.
Yeah,
same
exactly
teachers, same people, just do a week.
Yeah, same. I mean, I come away with like 1.5 GCSEs, and every time I say that in a conversation, and my mum's in the room, she's like, "No, you did not." I'm like, "Mum, it was published in the back of the Tamworth Herald." Yes, I did. 1.5, a C in English, which was a whole GCSE, and then a half a GCSE for a B in PE, and that was it. 1.5.
Oh man, I think I even failed PE.
I was close to failing it.
It's funny though, if you look at it, like, even you take away from it, like, failed science, I didn't fail. I got not what they need. Like
an E.
Yeah. Did I get? I think like D, something like that. In all my normal ones, but it's not a thing for them. Like, I was in bottom for maths, bottom for English, all that stuff. But if you actually look at my 2 that I got B's in, was art and drama.
Yeah.
Look what I'm doing.
Exactly. It suited your lifestyle.
Look what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I was always gonna be there. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And that's why it's great to have a parent then that just let you flourish like you're doing your kids. And my mum just always used to go, as long as you can afford it, if you think it's right. She never used to stop me. She'd always say, as long as you can afford it, and if I fail, she'd go, pick it back up. So
learn a lesson. Yeah.
Try anything. I'll try anything. And I've done some things I shouldn't have done. I've been and done jobs or careers or things that put pressure on, but I think that changed me. Being in the marching band, I got ridiculed for it, probably by yourself, friends that I had.
No,
but it was for me. It was that friendly banter stuff. Mm-hmm. But that made me.
Yeah, exactly.
I could still have a group of friends that laughed about it, but they went, "Yeah, Sam don't care. He's not reacting. Yeah, we'll leave it alone then," type thing. So I think, like, the life lessons are great, and I think what you're doing, like I say, I tell everyone when people mention stuff, I go, "Oh, I've got a mate that I've already said to Neil that I think he should put his youngest into there, because she's like that. You'll go around their house. Where's she? She's in the back garden.
I mean, you said before, you mentioned this before.
Back garden,
yeah.
shoes off,
yeah,
riding the dog or something. Like, she's like, woo, like, there she is. Or she's got mud on her face, or she's been building something or doing something. And I'm like, that would be perfect for her, because I could not imagine her sitting in a classroom. Yeah. And I couldn't sit in a classroom. That was my issue. I wasn't naughty. Like, yeah, I'll get a bit sarcastic with the teachers, but that's just me. Like, I'm a joker, but just sitting down, like, this is the longest you're going to get me to sit. But I enjoy it. Like, I'm learning. I'm sponging it up. So yeah, your business is flourishing very fast, and that's just down to you and your ability. Something I wanted to touch on, your staff that you've taken on, your one staff member, she was one of your clients, right?
Yeah, so she was with us, and then got to a point where I'd thought behind the scenes for a while that she would be a great addition. She knows the program inside out. She's already answering the questions in the community to help other people and support them. And when I read the answers that she was giving, it's like, I'm like, have I written that? It's like, she sounds like me. She's giving the exact same advice at the right time for people. So it was kind of like a no-brainer, really. And my plan all along was to sort of grow this out to somewhere where I could still have that impact and that presence in the business, but so I could step back and focus more as the sort of the CEO, the sort of the head coach to oversee everything, and then hire 5, 6, 7 coaches and grow this out so we can have that bigger impact on the people in the fitness industry that really need sort of our help. And it's just one step closer to hiring Claire and doing that. And then training her up behind the scenes, which again brings its own challenges because you're like, shit, I've got to create this training. You can't just expect somebody to know it all, on top of them managing sort of 50 plus clients, on top of then doing your content creation, all the accounts, the marketing, just, do you know what I mean? The never ending thing from a one man band. So it's been like a learning curve from start to finish, and it will continue being that.
But that's like 8 months, man. Just think 10 years or even 5 years where you're going to be. And what I've noticed from outside looking in is your dedication and no lack of learning from other people. The amount of things you put on social media, I've been to this course, I've done this course, I've watched this webinar, I've signed up to this coaching, and now I'm going to go from the same sort of stuff, but I'm going to pay for his coaching as well and her coaching, and I'm going to go to this and go to that. It's constant for you. And I'm like, that is the best thing that you can do, is just keep learning, because you might spend 400 quid and sit there and go, well, I already do all that. But that's good. That's fine. Cool. I'm doing that. So I'm going to be there at some point. And then you spend it over here and you learn one thing from that. But that one thing could elevate you big steps. And from the outside looking in, you have no lack of like, I know what I'm doing. You just keep learning. And I think that's incredible. I think that's one thing to why you are where you are, is because you just continue to grow as a person, and your personal development is probably more dedicated than your actual clients are to you. Like, you're dedicated to your personal development so much, which is to why you're so successful in such a short space of time as well, man. Like, such a short space of time.
And I think it's really important to be able to do that. Like, over the last 2.5 to 3 years, I've probably invested probably close to 25 grand in development, in education, in courses, in mentors, to be able to have this information and stand on the shoulders of these giants that have been there and done that. And like you were saying there, like, I've probably invest more time in it than my clients do, and it's true. Like, I want my clients to win more than they do, because with them winning, it not only changes their lives, but they'll positively impact people around them. And then obviously from the back end of that, from doing a good job with your clients, they'll just naturally talk about you, and then you'll grow bigger and bigger and bigger and have an impact on more people, and then solve more problems, which is essentially what then is my vision, to become that best coaching program in the country, in Europe, in the world. Obviously dreaming big, but why can't that be a thing? Do you know what I mean?
You've got that big business mentality, and you have to have that. Even when you're a big business, you still need to have it. There are some good things to having a small business mentality, when it keeps it tight, it keeps it close-knit. You don't employ or speak to the wrong people. But you've got that big business mentality already, because you're employing, if you look at it as a business, you're employing, let's say that she was your client, but she actually already worked for you. You're giving her a why can't I think of the word?
The opportunity to become.
What you're doing when you're in a business, you get promoted.
So
you're promoting her, but she already knows your ways. So all you've got to do is go, well, this is why I gave you this thing to do, because now you've got to explain why you did everything, because instead of just do that. Yeah. Or this is why we're doing that. You've now got to say, this is what I looked at for you. These were your mannerisms. This was your daily thing. And I went, oh, this is what we've got to change, switch up. But she already knows everything else. So you're promoting inside your internal company already. So you've got one step ahead, instead of you going, Sam, I want to employ you. And then I come over, and now I've got to flip to your ways, learn everything how you want me to do it. That's so much longer than her who already knows.
Yeah,
she knows
she's in
systems,
the culture, isn't she? She knows how the culture works, how the community runs. But one thing that I am quite big on is, like you were just saying there, now explaining why certain things are done. Like, with all my clients, it's not just a case of that sort of black and white, like, look, you do this and that's why, and it's like, oh, how come? Don't worry about it, you just do it. I always explain the reasons why people do it.
Best way to do it.
Because the big thing that I say when everyone comes on to us, and it's kind of like our like motto, is this will be the last time you will ever have to pay for anything like this, because my job is to give you the tools to be able to then take care of yourself and take charge of your health and fitness for the rest of your life. And the only way that won't happen is if you don't implement and take on board the stuff that we say. And it's very much, there is obviously, you've got that sort of cookie cutter where it's like, look, I've made this for you, you follow that and that's it. But at the same time, you need to be able to ask the right questions and lead them to the answers, as opposed to saying, do this, and this is the reason why. Because sometimes people will put that resistance up. Like if I was telling you, right, Sam, I want you to go clean the garage, go and clean the garage, go and clean the garage all the time. You'd be like, fuck that, I'm not going to clean the garage. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But if I was to do it in a way where it's like, you've come to that decision, like, oh, you know what, I should probably go and clean the garage. Like, you're more likely to go and clean it because you've come up with that answer.
Or if you explain it to me like, Sam, I think your podcasts have dropped the last 2 years, and that could be a reason why. Do you know what I mean? And I would go, actually, yeah, maybe,
And then you think
maybe
more
there's
about
too
it.
much in there, and I'm not. The conversation isn't as good, and I'm not getting engaged with my thing. And I go, actually, yeah, I need to go clean the garage. Like,
I need to go clean the garage.
I need
That's
to
the
go.
thing,
I need
man.
to go clean the studio. Do you know what I mean?
Environment will dictate performance.
Yeah. Like, but
yeah.
but if you continue to say it to me, I might just go, who the hell are you?
You
to
put
tell
that
me to
barrier
clean?
up, don't you?
Who do you think you are coming in here and telling me to clean my studio? But you go,
Yeah.
Sam, you've paid me. I'm your mentor, and what I'm thinking is it's too cluttered, and it's no good. Or you go, your customers are coming in and they think it's a shithole. Ah, cool, yeah, he's right.
Makes
Best clean the
sense.
garage. It's a bit like, so you say, like, I need you to do this, and this is why you're going to do that. And like you say, they go away, and then they get excited because they can tell other people. They don't just go, oh, Josh has said me to do this, and they go, and you get the people who read Google or whatever, and they go, oh, yeah, well, I've read this and this and this, and they go, yeah, well, this is why Josh has told me to do it. Oh, that makes sense. And they get excited telling people what you've told them to do. So I think, yeah, what you're doing with your clients is 100% where it's working.
It does, yeah, exactly.
It's working. So what is the aim? What is the? You said, I love that you dream. I'm a massive dreamer. So saying stuff to me like you're going to take over the world is not stupid. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's ride that ship, and I'm going to ride it with you, and I'll be shaking your hand and patting you on the back when you get there and say, fucking fair play. Because that's me, mate. My dream board is massive, and the wife brings me down to earth sometimes, but she's someone who says, go for it. Let's go for it. What is the bigger picture?
The bigger picture is to have more money, more freedom, and a bigger impact on the world, for various reasons. One, with my my previous career, it keeps you very small-minded. You don't really understand the potential and what's out there. But when you then venture out and you're brave enough to then go and start something for yourself and really invest that time into it, you realise that there is literally nothing stopping you apart from yourself in becoming whatever you want and having as much freedom, money and impact on the world that you literally can. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've realised from going in and sort of doing this. But the bigger picture is, like I was saying earlier, is to train up Claire, get her up to sort of 40, 50 clients to her capacity, for her to then leave her job as a midwife, which is her plan, and then give her that money, freedom and impact with her family so she can work on her terms and spend time with her girls and isn't on constant night shifts for the NHS. And then once we're in that position, look to hire a second coach, do the exact same process with that coach, bring more people on board like mindset coaches, sleep coaches that can then deliver webinars for the clients and have them on like a retainer, on a monthly retainer for them to, whenever our clients have any issues, they can just go to them and just ask them questions. Bring a physio on board. So again, if clients get injured in the program, typically people would be like, look, I'm probably going to have to pull out, or I'm going to have to sort of go and pay a lot of money for a physio behind the scenes. Whereas if we've got one in-house, which we've already got one lined up, then that's a great addition. So it's a package all in one. So you don't have to go anywhere. You've got private healthcare essentially in our company.
That's the way the world's going anyway, private healthcare. So you are one step ahead, brother.
And that's the vision. But it's one of them where you always want everything to come at once, but it doesn't work like that. No. You have to play that long game. You have to keep showing up daily, and then just slowly grow out from there. Because if it grows too fast, you have your own issues, your own problems, and you're in water what you don't understand, and you'll just end up drowning. So the slow, steady growth is great. Because it teaches you along the way and you grow with it, as opposed to growing too fast and you're still stuck down there. You grow with the business, and you can handle that stress a bit more as you adapt. But that's the plan anyway, to take over the world. Essentially.
Amazing. And I want to just say, just listening to you speak there and actually listening to you speak from the off, you have come on leaps and bounds, like from talking to you with the other podcasts. Like when you came in and talked about the marathon you were doing and stuff like that, you had a topic to talk about. You've come in today, I didn't tell you anything. I just said come in for a chat. And the way you are talking and articulating yourself, I can tell you've put so much time into yourself. It's incredible. You're articulating your words, your conversation, where you go next. You're thinking 10 steps ahead of what you're about to say. And that must come off to your clients as amazing, because if you're confident with yourself, they are going to be confident in what you're telling them. So yeah, I just want to say that's like, as soon as you started speaking, I was like, this is a complete different person.
Cheers, man.
It's all right, complete different, but you can see it, you know what I mean? My cold hands, mate, all the time.
They're very cold,
Yeah,
actually.
always,
Like, really cold.
yeah.
Alcoholic.
Alcoholic as well. Bad blood flow. So the bigger picture, take over the world. What's the next couple of years look like for you?
Hard work. Not getting complacent. That's one thing that I have noticed every now and then. And what one of my mentors talks about, Phil Graham, is the difference between burnout and boredom. And I was convinced from spending, living, breathing every single minute in the business, and obviously running a house, kids, etc., that I was close to burnout, or I was burnt out. I'd lost that sort of drive. I was just feeling very low in mood, couldn't be arsed, and just that poor me victim mentality for a while, which we'll all go through, ups and downs. That's just what general life is, I suppose. But I was convinced that I was burnt out. And then when he spoke about this, and he was saying, no, you're not burnt out, because if you are burnt out, you don't want to go on holiday. You won't be browsing social media. You'll basically be borderline, like, clinically depressed, where you don't want to speak to anybody. So that's an easy way to find out if you are burnt out, is if you don't want to do any of them things, then you probably are. But if you aren't, and you're finding yourself doing them things, you're probably bored. And I was like, that's a really interesting concept. And I was like, he's got to be full of shit, because that's it can't be. And I was quite against it.
Too simple.
I was quite against it for a while. I was like, nah, Phil, you must be chatting shit. And then something, I sort of decided to switch things up and deliver a new way of sort of going through check-ins with our clients, and changing the whole system up from the traditional, you will check in every single week regardless, because a lot of people can't be arsed with that. They haven't got time. So I was quite bold and changed the entire business model with that. And that created that excitement and everything for it again, while creating a new check-in system and giving a better system and delivery to our clients. And I was like, that's it. I wasn't burnt out. I was bored. Phil wasn't chatting shit. That was it. So that was quite an interesting thing that I sort of picked up, where the difference between burnout and boredom.
That's a really good thing to touch on there. I'm just going to remember where you are, but I'm just going to jump in. To the way the world's going now, it's very contradictory of me to say it, because we're now doing this online. I'm asking people to sit for an hour and listen to us. I actually don't. I'm free to go on the audio and go running, walking, go to the toilet, drive to work or whatever else. Listen to it then, because you're out the house, you're not sitting watching it. But the world we're going into is this like online gratification, and I do think a lot of people are bored, so then they force and do more of it. Like, they sit and do more. They then sit on social media and post more and keep posting, because then they get gratitude from that. Someone I know you follow quite closely, and a lot of people in the industry do, is James Smith. He did a great video the other day about that. He's very scared with the generation, not the generation of wanting to be at home and want these kids that can make 20, 30, 40 grand sitting on their games consoles, which is just absolutely insane, or opening boxes on YouTube and making millions out of it. But he's worried with the gratification system, that kids don't know how to give gratification in real life or take gratification. And I think the example he uses is, there was this kid that was just, I think what was he saying? This kid was just, you could see he hadn't got the social skills. But as soon as he went online and people were like, ding, 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 you're amazing. And he was like, yeah, I'm great in this little environment, but around people or giving it back to other people, he just lost that social skill of it. And I find myself doing it, exactly what you just said. You're doing something and you go, oh, am I doing this because I want to, or am I doing this because I'm bored? I also actually sometimes can't get used to doing nothing.
That's a tough thing to do, and be comfortable with doing nothing. You always feel you need to be busy.
Yep.
I completely relate to that.
Yeah,
if I'm not busy, I'll get anxious and stressed, and I'm not comfortable with doing nothing. Yeah.
So even if I've been away, let's say I've been away for 5 days at an event, or when we went on tour, and it was like 3 weeks flat out, and we did different parts of Europe and whatever else. Got home, day off, sit and watch movies all day and do nothing. Got to the night, and I was in like a state of anger. Of like, have gone and cleaned the studio. I could have gone and sorted the electrics out in the studio. I could have put the different lights up. I could have built a new wall. I could have done something, or I should have edited a video. I should have posted something. I had to tell myself, like, Sam, you've just been flat out for 3 weeks, traveling, driving to other countries in Europe. You're allowed to sit and do nothing. But it took a long time for me to, like, and I still get it now. Like, I get built up anger of, like, you're lazy. And I get in my own head. Yeah. And I'm like, that's why obviously meditation's become big, because a lot of people can't do nothing. So yeah, that's something I wanted to throw into that.
Yeah, I think with that as well, I think it's sort of consciously giving yourself permission to do nothing. It's like, look, rationalise it. I'm stressed at the minute because I'm not doing anything. I should be busy. And it's just like the sign of like a chaotic mind, isn't it? It's like, rationalise, can I be doing anything? Yeah, I could be, but what do I need to do most? I've been, like you're saying, been flat out for 3 weeks. I've got permission now to chill out and recharge. It's very important I do that. And I think when you get your brain on board with that, then you're much more at peace to sort of just sit and relax. But I completely get that.
Do you have any systems? So you said I don't want to delve too much into your coaching because we want people to pay for it. But what in those systems did you change after speaking to Phil and looking at yourself being bored or not being bored and noticing those cues and how your brain was working? What was one thing you did change that would positively affect the rest of your clients?
Yeah, so the traditional way, and anyone that's done online coaching or anyone that does online coaching, is that you'll promote it like, we'll do weekly check-ins. You'll get to speak to me every single week, which is great. It's a great selling point. But what I was finding is a lot of clients, especially my demographic, they're very busy. They've got kids. They work in the corporate world. They're all over the place. Stay-at-home moms, don't have much time. So if they've had a week, for example, that they know exactly what they need to do, they've had a mega week, no massive dramas have cropped up, we've already spoke through the week anyway to address any issues, they were finding when they got to the end of the week, when it comes to their check-in day, they were just going through this check-in, which is probably going to take 5 minutes of their time up to ask these sort of, ask the right questions to get what we need for the feedback. It was just a waste of time for them, and they were just doing it as a box-ticking exercise to the point where some people couldn't be asked to check in, and rightly so. So I sort of identified this, and also as well, it puts a lot of pressure on me. So when Monday comes around, in my inbox, I've got 50 check-ins to go through, and a lot of them, they've just done it for a box-ticking exercise, but I still need to give them a feedback. So it drains my energy, it wastes their time, not only listening to me giving the feedback back, but them actually filling it in and updating everything. So I wanted to see how I could get the most out of this, and the way that we, like the massive team, the way that I overhauled it.
No, but that's your big company mentality, and without that big company mentality, you're going to stay a small company. Yeah. Keep saying we.
Well, keep it is we now. It is,
yeah, there's two of you.
It is we now.
But keep saying we. Keep saying we.
So the way that we overhauled it was to dive deep into the check-in process, because this is where all the results come from, right? This is like the biggest thing of the coaching. So we overhauled it and done like a traffic light system of green, amber, red. If you were green and you had no dramas, then don't check in this week. We'll touch base throughout the week. Again, frees up their time, frees up my time and energy as a coach to give them a better service. If they're amber, they'd answer a few more questions, and it would signpost them and coach them through the type form that I'd created on a traffic light system to point them in the right direction. And if they were red and they hadn't implemented anything, then the first port of call, don't check in, implement what we've spoke about, because if you was to check in, I'd just tell you to implement the same thing I'd spoke about last week.
Okay, well, yeah.
And what this was doing is it was creating and helping the clients think for themselves. I remember what I said at the beginning, like, our aim is to create that autonomous client that thinks for themselves so they can take charge of their health and fitness, and not every time something crops up go, oh shit, let me message Josh. It's like, no, you need to think for yourself, because I ain't going to be here forever. Yeah. As much as I'd love to take your money for the rest of your life, you need to then spend it on other things and become autonomous and take charge. And this is the system that is creating that for our clients. And we've already seen positive impacts already over the last couple of weeks. A few clients that haven't checked in, they indicated red on the system, but they also put they hadn't implemented what we'd spoke about the previous week. Obviously, when they come into the traffic light system, I want to follow up with them. Look, how's it going on? They're like, look, I've turned it around. I remember what you said a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. I've actually implemented it, and I'm not stuck anymore. And I'm like, mega, because if we didn't have this in place, I'd have had the same conversation, and nothing would have happened. But now it forces them to think for themselves and take this action.
Yeah, and it's taking you, because what I always found as a coach was your fault. It's your fault. Everything, if they're not being successful when you're telling them to do it, it's your fault. Whereas you are now putting that down on paper Well, no, it's your fault. Why is it you didn't do that? Because
got
you've told me you didn't do that, and now you red light. You've red light for 4 weeks.
That's
That's
your
your
fault.
fault.
That responsibility.
Yeah. It's putting it back on them, which it should do. Because I hated it. Like, that was me. Like I say, I didn't grow enough in the industry to become like yourself. But that's where I used to get annoyed with that. Adults can't adult, and stop blaming me. It ain't my fault. Like, I look all right. It ain't my fault. So to do what you're doing is, it's not just you saying it. That's a really cool way of implementing of, it is your fault.
Yeah, it's a great way, and like taking that complete ownership, because like we don't have any communication physically unless we have like a client meetup, for example. So in order for you to change, you need to take ownership and responsibility, because I can't force you to change. I can just ask the right questions and steer you in the right direction. Ultimately, it is your responsibility. Yes, I will take responsibility for certain things, like making sure that you have got the best training, the best access to the training, the right implementation, the right questions to lead you to these answers. But if you don't take action and implement what I'm saying, you're going to stay the same. So the onus and the emphasis is 100% on them all the time. And if they can't take that ownership, then they're going to stay stuck forever.
Yeah. Do you take the leap of going, wow, maybe you're just not for me, or do you just keep trying to fix people?
So there's only been a few people where we've sort of parted ways. And again, this is one thing that I take full responsibility for that. I know it goes against what I've just said there, but in the younger sort of coaching days, and even now, you'll still take it personal because you want to be able to help this individual. But sometimes some people just don't want to be helped. And this is, again, why I'm investing in this course that I want to do, because I know there's people that have slipped through the cracks that I couldn't coach because of my ability, not because they weren't coachable. I've got no doubt if they went to another coach and had a different approach or asked the right questions, they would have got the help they needed. So me identifying that and putting ego to the side and allowing myself to then become this coach that knows essentially not everything, but can coach the uncoachable, I think it's just a massive benefit for the people that we coach, and will stop more people slipping through the cracks thinking that they're unhelpable.
I do think some people pay you though as an excuse. They'll pay a coach knowing they're not going to listen, but they're doing it as a, well, then when their friends say, well, you've not lost any weight, or you look the same, or you're still doing this, you're still doing that. Well, yeah, I've got a coach though. Must be their fault. Like a little excuse of, they're not going to help. They're never going to change. They're never going to accept themselves as, that's just you. That's just you. So they go, well, I'll pay that person. And that's now the excuse to why, like a little bridge.
Yeah. I have noticed that, where people expect, because they've chucked money at it to solve their problems without them actually taking any action. And yeah, there's definitely people like that I've worked with in the past. And like you say, they end up going through the coaching process and coming out the coaching process the same person. But again, I'm putting that down to my ability as a coach to be able to tap into what it is that their problem is, that they don't want to sort of put the hand up and say, look, this is my actual problem. So I, again, will take that sort of ownership on that. But as you say, some people, it's very difficult to get through.
Like you said, they don't want helping, so they're only paying you as the excuse. They really don't want to change. And some people just need to accept, like myself, I don't look like I did when I was a PT, but there are things that, like you said, the life lessons that I distilled into my clients that I can 100%, if they come to me now and said 10, 15 years down the line, well, it didn't work. Well, guess what? My diet is not great. My fitness regime is not great. My alcohol consumption is not great. I still don't look bad. So there are things that I implemented and believe in that still do work. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, well, if you sat down and got me to do a diary over a month, you'd say, why aren't you this big? Like, do you know what I mean? I know it could be better, but I still know I have my base non-negotiables that I still do now.
Steps for shreds.
Even though now I couldn't, like, going to the gym I don't enjoy it anymore. I used to love it. I'd be in there 2-3 hours at a time. Now get me in 40 minutes and I'm out again. But I go, there's non-negotiable of the 3 or 4 times a week, get my ass there, move as much as I can, take stairs if I have to, park as far away from even now it's really hard with a kid because you've got the kiddie bays that you can just park straight inside Asda. Yeah,
that's someone who hasn't got a kid's parked in.
Yeah, I want to fight them all the time. Alex is like, just leave it. We'll go on another one. I'm like, no, I want this one. She's like, yeah, but there's 4 more. But I want this one because they just got out there and they shouldn't be in that space. And I still try and park as far away as possible. because that then it was stuff I used to tell my clients, because then I've got to walk all the way to Asda and I've got to walk all the way back. And they're the things that I think if I stopped doing those few 5 or 6 non-negotiables, I would be the size of an elephant, because my diet, like I say, isn't great and I love a drink. But I don't even know where that tangent was going, but it linked in with what you were saying.
Like you were saying, and the main thing from that is those lifestyle behaviours that you've set yourself for those. You know what I mean? And that's why you can stay how you are in a healthy body, because you've set these things in place and you hold yourself to that higher standard. Do you know what I mean? That's
where I was going with that is some people who come to you and won't admit that they don't want the help is just accept that that's your lifestyle and that's your body you're going to have. Stop trying to look like an athlete when you love socialising at the pub. You love eating out every week. You don't want to cook at home. Just maybe accept that that's you. And you are going to be a bit fluffy around the edges forever. But that's them. Some people will come to you. That's their lifestyle. They're never going to change. They don't want to because that's what they love. And they love that. But they're going to come to you and go, it's his fault why I'm fluffy. Well, no, it's not. It's what you love to do and you're stuck to. Is like when I spoke to you about alcohol consumption, because you're massive on it. And I think what you did was incredible. And we had a conversation about me trying to draw it back a little bit. Obviously now I've had Archie, 100% makes me, I can't wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning when I've had a few beers and the baby's screaming at you because your head's hurting. It's just not working. So, but I've only brought it back a bit because I'm never going to stop drinking because I enjoy it. I've stopped the bad behaviour, which was a bad cycle of this is why I should probably stop, because I was an arsehole when I'd had a drink. And I wasn't good to people, which I know was also one of your traits, and one of my big brother's traits, which is why he completely stopped drinking. But I enjoy being at the pub. I enjoy sitting at 3 o'clock in the morning, chatting to someone. I enjoy that. So I could never take it away. And if I tried to, I think I would go the complete opposite.
You'd find something else, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would, yeah. And I know I joked to you once, and I still remember this because it was a change for me to say it, and the way you looked at me was when I was like, I'm either caffeinated or I'm drunk. I'm never myself. And you were like, that's not good. And I was like, no, that's not good. But that all I did was drew back my coffee consumption a little bit. The alcohol drew it back slightly because I was like, it was the behaviours, and that wasn't actually me. Like, I'm an arsehole without it. I don't need to. I don't need the right balance. I don't need to 10 times it. But I think it's accepting that that's you. That's you. And what can you do to be, if you're unhappy with your health, what can you do to have a few non-negotiables to be, I'm fluffy around the edges, things don't fit. I get to a bit where I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe I've slipped on those non-negotiables because my jeans don't fit anymore. Cool. And I just implement them back again and it drops. So I think what you're doing is amazing because, they might not remember 50% of it, but you're already going, stick to that 50% and you will be 50% better than you are. And you don't want to be around forever. And there are a lot of coaches that don't teach people anything because they just want to keep taking their money forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And a big one there that can address that issue there, like you were saying, is setting out expectations, managing people's expectations for certain things. And this is a huge thing because, one, if they do want to continue doing that, then you need to just say, look, if you want to go and do this, but you're telling me on the other hand that you want to lose 2 stone and you want to have more energy to be able to keep up and run around with your children, then you're going to have to, there's got to be a trade-off here because you can't have both because you're going to have that conflicting interest and butt heads and it's not really going to work. So that's when, as a coach, you step in and manage the expectations. Say, look, you can still do this. You have to dial it back a little bit. Do you know what I mean? What do you value more? Do you value your health, being around for your children and making sure that you can chase after them if they run off in the park? And if you are struggling, you aren't very fit, you are carrying excess body fat, you aren't going to be able to catch up to them in that situation. And this is a situation a lot of parents, a lot of mums will say, when I'm down the park with my children, I worry I can't run after them if they run off. And that's a big worry that a lot of mums will have. And it's like, what do you value more? Do you value socialising with your friends, drinking,
or losing
eating,
your child?
Or not being able to, you know what I mean, in a dangerous situation, not being able to protect your child. And when you actually put it like that, they're like, oh, you know what? That's a great way to put it. Then they start managing their own expectations. And then over time, they suddenly start changing themselves not because you forced them, because you've then asked the right questions and put it in a perspective that really resonates with them. And then they feel empowered to make that choice themselves, as opposed to, look, you need to do this because if not, this is going to happen. And that blunt approach quite often doesn't work.
Yeah, well, you're using a real life situation. You're not just going, you need to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
You're going, well, this is why, and that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get out of breath going up the stairs? Yeah, that ain't good, because if you need to suddenly get to your kid who's choking upstairs, yeah, you don't want to have to go to those nerves and on them, but putting it real, man. Like, if your kid runs off, you cannot catch your own child. That's neglect, mate. You need to drop a bit of weight. Oh, actually, yeah, cool. And you're making them realise that maybe there is a better side to it. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think that's a really good trait for yourself to have, because you're not just saying, oh, you need to lose weight because you come to me. You need to lose weight because you can't do real life.
Yeah, you need to be robust. And I'm not sure if you've seen, this is kind of a little bit off topic actually. But it's sort of like 2 points. One, a couple of months ago, just before Christmas, me and Laura was around Birmingham. We went out for something to eat with no kids. It was dark. We was walking back to the car, and it was on a Friday night. Birmingham's very lively. There's a lot of aggressive men cutting about that place of a night time. A lot of youths hanging around, and very leery. And you know that they'll just say something, and you'll say something back, and it will just erupt into
knives
something.
these days.
Do you know what I mean? It's a very sort of dangerous situation.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, there was obviously me and Laura, and I was like, look, I know I can look after myself, but not against these types of people. And as a parent, like, it got me thinking about, like, dads. Like, as a dad, as a protector, you want to be that person that can protect your family, stand up for your family in certain situations. And I was just looking around, and there were certain men that were walking around that didn't look after themselves, that wouldn't be able to look after themselves or their family in situations. And again, it just brought me back to that thought of, like, it's your responsibility to make sure that you are ready at any given opportunity to protect yourself, be fit, robust, be able to protect your family. And it just got me thinking about, like, I'm fortunate that I am in that position, but I know a lot of other people aren't. And if you aren't, then you should look at your lifestyle choices, and all that sort of stuff. And then the next point, what I was on about, which made me think about this point, was, I don't know if you've just seen recently that the army, the general for the armed forces, has just put out that the British public could be called up to fight if there was a massive war. I don't know if you've seen this, and there was a poll that was up, like, would you be ready or not? Would you be robust enough? And 90% of the public wouldn't be robust enough, nor would they be willing to go, which is a complete different topic. Like, I probably wouldn't be willing to go. I've only been out the army for 8 months, and why would I want to go and do that when some politicians started a fight somewhere?
Yeah.
But that's beside the point. The point is, would you be physically ready if something like that happened? And that ties back into the point of when you're walking around the streets, etc. Are you in a position physically ready and able to protect your family?
Yeah.
And the answer for a lot of people is no, they will not be.
Or even run.
Or even be able to run away. Exactly, which is probably the preferred choice.
You
can
can't
run away?
You can't fight a knife these days.
Yeah, can you run away? Or if you turned and ran, would you dislocate your knee? Would you fall over, roll on the floor? Or could you even pick yourself back up off the floor if you got knocked over in time? Could you be athletic enough? And again, the answer would be no to the majority of people out there.
It's good though. You're tapping into primal instincts that people's brains will naturally go yes or no. And that will work with some people, won't work with others. Like, if you sat at a call with me and I was slow, or we did a bit of a fitness test, and you told it me in that way, especially now having a son, I would be like, shit, yeah, I'm listening, Josh, what we're doing.
Yeah, as a father, I think that is your responsibility to be able to be that protector. If someone breaks into your house, can you hold your ground for a set amount of time before someone rings the police or help arrives? Or are you going to be rolling around on the floor out of breath? Or, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what? And I know these are extreme examples, but ultimately, like, that is what you need to be ready for. Yeah.
Amazing. What a conversation.
It was good, man.
Always good. Always good. And I'll get you back on because I want to talk about the Queen's funeral. I mean, look, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that. We'll talk about it another time.
Yeah, cool, man.
But where can people find you if they want to get on your coaching? Because some people need to.
Yes, so if you want to find more about me, if you head onto Instagram, J Hubbard Fitness, and I will pop up on there. Or if you have Facebook, J Hubbard Coaching is on Facebook, and I'm sure Sam would be kind enough to link them in the show notes on here.
100% they'll be below this episode. But before you go, it's one thing you've never actually done on the podcast, is I ask every guest, I want you to give one key to your success, one key to your client's success. If I just ask you now, you've got to give me one thing that could change my life, change everyone else's life, or what's changed your life. I want you to give it. It could be a sentence. It can be a word. You're not going to say it because this is the end of this episode. I save these. You're going to write it in my book as well, along with everybody else's, and I keep it in a book. This will go on the Patreon, or it will go out in a year's time. But I keep this under wraps for a bit. And I use that book all the time. So yeah, one key to why you think where you are, or what you'd say to me or to someone, just one thing you think's a really important key to success for somebody.
You don't want me to say it?
Not just yet. We'll stop this episode. So guys, thanks Josh.
Yeah, cheers mate.
Always a good conversation. I think we're going to go to end up 30, 40, 50 episodes with you, because it's always good. I reckon we should just book you in every January, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think to start the year with you is just so refreshing. Just get every January we'll get you in. I think it's a really good episode to start the year on. It's positive. You never come with negativity. And I think that's just one of your traits, which is one to why we get on as well. And I think your personal growth will be ace to see every year, and you'll always have something to give to the listeners and the viewers. So thanks for joining me again on episode number 60. So we're going to pause the episode there, and we're going to do his keys to success. If you want to see the keys to success, sign up to the Patreon. You can find that at Patreon, Coffee with Sam, patreon.com. If not, wait a year or 2 years to get to see it. Peace.